Floating Freethinkers. The Pitfalls of Indecision and the Illusion of Intellectual Freedom. A freethinker doesn't just accept what they've been told by tradition, authority, or popular opinion. No dogma or social pressure dictates their worldview. Freethinkers reject blind adherence to anything, instead preferring to be led by their own thoughts and ideas. Essentially, a freethinker is, ostensibly, all about keeping an open mind, asking why a lot, and being willing to change their views when presented with solid evidence or logic. The label carries an air of intellectual independence, suggesting an unshackled mind, willing to explore ideas with curiosity and open-mindedness. There's a paradox in the free-thinking community, however, a persistent reluctance, sometimes bordering on the irrational, to commit to any position or even appear to do so, even if that position fully meets their standards and embraces their own intellectual position. In these cases, free-thinking ceases to be about intellectual freedom. Instead, it becomes a self-imposed prison of uncertainty, or perhaps pride, where stubborn spite or fear of commitment masquerades as an unending search for truth. The purpose of free thought should not be perpetual indecision, but the ability to stand on solid ground while remaining open to change. Balancing skepticism with provisional rational acceptance. A true freethinker approaches ideas with a healthy level of skepticism. However, skepticism must be balanced with the ability to accept rational, well-supported arguments. The danger arises when skepticism turns into an endless loop, where no belief or conclusion is ever good enough to accept. This phenomenon is widespread among certain self-identified freethinkers, who reject even the positions that satisfy their own standards of logic, ethics, and evidence. The refusal to commit to any idea sometimes becomes a performance rather than a pursuit of truth. It promotes a destructive kind of intellectual relativism, where all viewpoints are seen as equally valid or invalid simply because absolute certainty is impossible. While this is true, the best approximate truth is a reasonable goal. To reject this is to deny oneself the stability of a well-grounded perspective. Free thought versus ego, when intellectualism becomes self-worship. For some, being a freethinker is less about the pursuit of truth and more about a sense of superiority. The idea of settling on a well-supported belief can feel like an admission of being ordinary or conventional and no longer special. This is where freethinking can morph into an exercise in self-aggrandizement rather than free exploration. When faced with a sound argument, some respond not by engaging with the idea, but by shifting goalposts, endlessly nitpicking, or refusing to take any stance to maintain an air of rational detachment. For them, free thinking is not a tool for intellectual agility or even discovering the best approximation of truth, but a shield against the vulnerability of ever being wrong or maybe ever being right. True intellectual humility acknowledges when a well-supported idea has earned acceptance. It does not equate settling on a position with dogma, especially dogmatic dogma. Instead, it understands that all beliefs should be held provisionally and open to refinement and revision as new evidence emerges. And if you happened upon a philosophy or system of thought that inherently personifies this open-minded stance, you would reasonably give it serious consideration, recognizing the genuine possibility of formally aligning with it, so long as its core commitment to evidence, growth, and adaptability endures. Real-world consequences of unmoored freethinking. The refusal to align to well-supported assertions is not just an intellectual game, it has real-world consequences. Science and truth. Extreme skepticism can lead to denialism. Climate change deniers, anti-vaxxers, moon landing deniers, and flat earthers all use the language of skepticism to reject overwhelming evidence, claiming that the truth is never fully settled. The scientific method operates on provisional truth, knowledge that is always open to improvement, but still functionally reliable. If we wait for absolute certainty before making decisions, progress halts. Ethics and morality. Ethical frameworks also require commitment. While moral absolutism is flawed, moral relativism, where no stance is ever settled upon, can lead to inaction in the face of injustice. If one spends too much time questioning the ethical ramifications of every action without committing to doing what is measurably right, suffering goes unaddressed. Reclaiming the purpose of free thought. Free thought should be a liberating force, not a restrictive one. It is about critically evaluating ideas and forming meaningful, rational, and ethical conclusions. It should not be a perpetual rejection of all findings, nor should it be wielded as a tool for ego-driven intellectual elitism. True open-mindedness is not refusing to commit to anything but the willingness to refine and adjust one's views while still standing firm on well-supported truths. Only then can free thought truly serve its intended purpose, freedom and knowledge.